sorry, it's evening from this side of the world. I'm in Nigeria, Africa. Yeah, so it's evening from this side of the world. I trust we're all doing great. I trust we're all doing super, super amazing. I would really like us to use the chat box. It makes interaction very easy, because if we all have our audio on, there could be so many distractions and distortions, and I would really want us to have a very, very smooth recording, a very smooth section as a way. So thank you everyone for being here. I can see our super amazing host, Oribim. Thank you so much for accepting our invite. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you everyone for joining in today. And just if this is your first time joining us at the Food and Genes Initiative, joining us at the program, I want you to know that you are just in the right place. So we do this from time to time, where we actually, so we do this from time to time. If this is your first time of joining us, we do this from time to time, where we actually educate the public on different aspects of health and lifestyle, you know, how to just live. Daniel, Samuel, could you please help me? Yeah, thank you so much, Oribim. Could you please help me admit people into the room so that I don't get so distracted? Okay, thank you so much. I want to believe you can all hear me. Please let me know in the chat box if everybody can hear me, so that I continue with what I was saying. Okay, super, super amazing. I'm glad you can all hear me. I'm super glad you can all hear me. Okay, so I was saying that at FAGI, that's Food and Genes Initiative, we do this from time to time, where we educate the public general, you know, on different aspects of lifestyle that could help you live a healthy life, that could help you grow your life, grow your productivity, and do all of these things. And that's why we have what we have here today, which is the diet and productivity webinar. Many people think that all they need food for is energy. You know, many people think that all they need food for is to just live for another day. But trust me, it's way more than that. You really want to live a super productive life. You want to live a life where you get results. You want to boost your mental health. I mean, just about everything I know about has to do with diet. Diet is really that important. And when we talk about diet, we're not just talking about do you have your food in all of the 6 proportions, or do we have it in all of the different classes of food and all of that? It's way more than that. And that's what our guest will be unpacking today. She's going to be showing us how and what it means to actually get the right diet, and what it means, the relationship between diet and productivity, and how you can actually lead live a healthy lifestyle when your diet is right, and how it can boost your productivity. And I would like to also quickly say this, that in a way, it's even linked to mental health, because when you are very productive, you know how to balance your life, you know what to do at the right time, and it is fueled by the right diet. It sort of has a very huge impact on your mental health, because of course, you will not be mentally stressed because you are productive. You can see results. You're not running a rat race, you know. You're not trying to get too many things, to fix too many things in your life. And this is basically what this webinar is going to be doing for you today. And at the end of today, I am super sure that you will not only know how to balance your diet, you're going to know how to live a very productive life. And at the end of the day, you would be that healthy individual that you hope to be. And you can go on to help your family members, you know. You can go on to help every other person you come across. Teach them what you've learned in this webinar. And trust me, you're going to enjoy it. So, Samuel, can you help me put up Oribim's profile, as I'm going to be telling you about my super amazing guest speaker for today? Okay, so I'm waiting for it. So while I wait for it, I want you guys to tell me in the chat section if this is your first time of being here. Oh, sorry, my bad. I didn't tell you my name. My name is Success Adora Olale, and I am your host for today. Okay, so Oribim Kingson is a registered dietitian and a certified diabetes educator who promotes healthy eating as an educator, as a consultant, and a speaker. We have so great a personality in here today. Oribim is able to translate the latest and often complicated nutrition and health information into diet advice that is easy to understand and easy to follow. So this means you are going to be learning in the most simplified way from my speaker today. Oribim obtained a Bachelor of Science from the University of Manitoba, all the way from Canada, and proceeded to complete the dietetic internship with the Manitoba Partnership Dietetic Education Program. She is a member of the College of Dietitians of Manitoba and Dietitians of Canada. You guys should give me a clap offering. I mean, actually say it in church. We have such a great personality in our midst this evening. Oribim, I would hand over the microphone to you now, but thank you. Thank you so much for being here. I feel super excited to host you on today's webinar. Thank you, Oribim, for joining us. I'm super excited to have you. Can you take over now?
Thank you so much, Success, for that very, very warm welcome. Just give me one moment as I share my slides.
Okay. You can go on to speak.
Okay, I'm going to start my timer here so it keeps me on time. But hello, everyone. Welcome. Big thank you to Food and Genes. A big thank you to Samuel, to Success for inviting me to speak here today. I'm very passionate about nutrition, about health, about wellness, and I enjoy as much as I can just talking and sharing the information that I know with as many people that I can, because I do believe that, diet plays a huge role in wellness, in health, and in longevity. And so today I'm going to be focusing on the effects of diet and nutrition on physical health and productivity. Okay. So I wanted to start off by just saying a little bit about me. My name is Oribim Kingson. I am a registered dietitian and I am based in Winnipeg, Manitoba, in Canada. So welcome everyone, wherever you might be joining us from. I really started practicing as a dietitian in 2019. I started off working in diabetes, and then so diabetes, chronic disease, so had high blood pressure, heart disease, etc. And then I switched to working more in eating disorders. So eating disorders prevention, eating disorders management, eating disorders recovery. And I've dabbled in a little bit of private practice as well. As a dietitian, my main focus and my main goal is to simplify nutrition information. I mean, there's so much information out there. It can be confusing to know what is true and what isn't. So I try to break down the research into bite-sized pieces that anyone can really follow and adapt into their lifestyle. If you are interested in, learning more about me or my professional work, I do have an Instagram page. It's been a little redundant because I'm trying to revamp it. But if you're willing to be patient with me as I revamp it, it is diabetes_RD, and you can follow me on there as well. All right, so here is a brief outline of what I'm going to be talking about today. I only have 30 minutes, and 30 minutes is a very short time. So I've tried to keep it short and sweet. This is by no means exhaustive at all. There's definitely, nutrition is 1 hour, 2 hours, like we can go a whole day talking about this topic. So I've just tried to pick some really key things that I think might be helpful to share. So I'm going to be talking about the link between diet and productivity. Is there really a link between the both of them? 3 things you can add to your diet that's going to boost your productivity. 3 things you want to limit that's going to decrease your productivity if you have them, and just some practical tips on things to do to improve productivity, be it in school, at work, at home, If you have any questions, I do believe there is going to be a Q&A session later on. So I would say just type it in the chat box or save it till then, and we'll address it at the end when there's time for that. So I want to start off today by just defining what is a diet. I find that in society today, diet is used in two different contexts. So I've gotten these definitions from the Cambridge Dictionary. So one context or one definition of a diet is just the food and the drinks that are usually eaten by a person or a group. And another definition, which is used quite commonly in society, is just like an eating plan where someone eats less food or only a particular type of food because they want to become thinner or for medical reasons. So in the context of my presentation today, I'm just going to be talking about diet as the foods and drinks that you eat on a day-to-day basis. This isn't about weight loss. It's not about, medical management or management of any chronic disease conditions. And I just want to clarify that. That would be more of a broader topic for another day, and we just don't have the time to delve into that. Okay, so is there a relationship between food and productivity? Is there a relationship between your diet and productivity? I dare say a resounding yes, and I've put in some research to back that up. A population health management study surveyed over almost 20,000 of their employees. And what they found was that there is a link between diet and productivity. They found that people who followed an unhealthy diet, so an unhealthy diet they classified as a diet that was low in fruits and vegetables, a diet that was low in whole grains. So those with an unhealthy diet tended to have about a 66% loss of productivity when compared to their counterparts or their coworkers that followed more of a healthy diet. Now, I dare say 66% is a lot. But I also wanted to throw in a couple of other things that don't have to do with diet. I do think, sometimes we only want to focus on diet, but I think it's much more of a broader conversation when we talk about health, right? So other habits or healthy habits like exercise plays a huge role. And they also looked into that. And what they found was people who exercise irregularly, people who are not consistent with physical activity were 50% lower in production. Now, we know this is true because, exercise just has so much of an impact on your mood and your brain and your hormones and your endorphins, all these things that help with productivity. So, and one last thing I wanted to throw in that I thought was interesting from their study was the fact that people who smoked had a 28% drop in productivity. So again, it's not just about diet and exercise, it's also about lifestyle habits, right? So smoking, drugs, etc. All of that impacts your productivity, be it in school, at work, or just home and life in general. Another study was conducted by the British Journal of Health and Psychology, and here they looked at 405 adults. They looked again at their eating habits and their eating pattern, and what they found was that people who had an increased intake of fruits and vegetables tended to have more curiosity, more creativity, and just general well-being. Now, dare I say, creativity and curiosity really plays a role in productivity. Imagine, for example, if you're in school, right? The more curious you are, the more likely you are to engage with the material and pay attention and want to learn. And the more creative you are, you'll be able to think up outside the box, right? Come up with solutions, come up with ideas. So all of that plays a role in your well-being and your productivity. But also people who had fewer unhealthy foods, so things like sweets, candies, chocolate, chips, generally processed foods, depending on which country you're from or what country you're based in right now, different foods have, or different countries have processed foods that are akin to them. Like here in Canada, lots of burgers and pizza, etc. I do know if you're in Nigeria, there is a general uptake or upswing in these kinds of processed foods. So things like pizza, I know is becoming more acceptable or more widely consumed. I like to caution against things like that because generally they don't lead to positive feelings, and you need those positive feelings to stay engaged, to stay motivated to work. And so what they analyzed, or what they summarized, was that just a healthier diet led to increased engagement, which was certainly necessary for productivity. All right, so what is the connection between food and fuel? Well, you've heard this time and time again. I'm going to repeat it. You are what you eat. Food is fuel. Food fuels your productivity. What it does is it provides our body with the energy and the nutrients that it needs to run effectively. And I like to say, think of your body like a car, and think of food like the gas that you put in your car. You don't go on a journey without gas. It's not going to happen. You're really just like, it's not going to work, or at least your car isn't going to work as well as it should. Likewise, we shouldn't go on a journey of the day or of work without putting some kind of gas in our car, and that gas is fuel. And there's different grades of fuel as well, different grades of gas. There's premium, there's just regular. And I say you want to give your body premium fuel, because your body is it's like an expensive car. If you buy an expensive car, you're not going to use the cheap gas that might damage the engines or not help it run as efficiently. You want to give it premium gas that's going to boost productivity. So what I say is, don't spare costs when it comes to your health. Health is wealth. Like you always say, the fact that you're healthy allows you to make more money or make some money. So don't mortgage your health for money or for cost. Invest in, like, eating good, eating well is an investment, and it's an investment that I encourage you to make. But food as well provides your body with glucose or sugar, which your brain needs to stay alert. So sugar is your brain's major source of energy. And when we're talking about productivity, when we're talking about efficiency, I mean, obviously your brain is a big part of that. Your brain plays a big role in keeping you alert and keeping you productive and helping you meet your tasks and your goals. So food has a huge link with that. What the research shows is that when you're low in sugar, or when you're low in glucose, so be it that you're not eating enough, or you're skipping meals, or you're missing out on meals, it is much more difficult for you to stay focused. Your attention drifts. I'm not sure if anyone has paid attention to how hard it is to concentrate when your stomach is empty or when you're hungry. I mean, first of all, when you're hungry, you're probably just constantly thinking about food. It's going to be a little harder for you to think about something else, think about a project, or think about work, or think about that assignment that you have to do. But also, you just have really low energy. It's going to be a lot harder for you to keep up. And likewise, not all foods are processed by our bodies at the same rate. So foods that are what we call simple carbohydrates, foods that are easy to break down, so things like pasta, things like bread, things like cereal, so cornflakes, soda or pop or mineral, depending on where you're joining us from. So Fanta, Coke, I'm even going to put like malted drinks in there, things like Maltina, Amstel Malta. All of those things, they digest really quickly. They don't sit in our stomach long enough to give us sustained energy. So what happens is, if you have, some bread, or if you have some cereal or cornflakes, Cheerios, that food is going to digest really quickly. So yes, you're going to have a quick burst of energy, but that energy isn't going to sustain you for a long time. So what's going to happen is, you're going to have a quick burst of energy, and then you're going to slump, you're going to crash, because it just doesn't stay long enough in your system to keep you energized. Also, high fat foods, so things like cheeseburgers, or even soups that we eat, soups like egusi soup, or bono soup, okra soup, where you put a lot of palm oil, or even in like stews, if you flood your stews with palm oil or oil in general, yes, the fat is going to help you have more energy or more sustained energy, but we have to think about the fact that it is a lot harder on your system to digest. Your system is going to have to work much more harder. And so what's going to happen is, if you eat, and maybe you've noticed this, where you've had a really big meal, and the next thing is you just feel really tired. Like the next thing you want to do is just sleep. That's because your body at that time is prioritizing its energy to digest the food that you just had. And so the bigger the meal, the much more energy that your body's going to need to digest that food. But also, if it's fat takes a really long time to digest. So your body even has to work much harder. So a lot less oxygen will be going to your brain to fuel your activity. If you're someone who works like a 9 to 5, if you find that maybe after lunchtime, sometimes you feel really groggy, you don't have enough energy, maybe, it's time to pay attention to what you're having at lunch, because that actually plays a role in your energy levels. So the oxygen is reduced from your brain, so your brain doesn't have as much to work with to promote your health and wellness or your productivity. Now, before I go into the things to add and the things to maybe limit, I just want to talk a bit about balance, just letting you know that in all the things that I'm talking about today, balance is key. Foods or nutrients don't work in isolation. So you can't just pick one nutrient and say, okay, I was told this is going to improve my productivity, so I'm going to prioritize this. Foods and food nutrients, they all work together. It's a very complex interaction. Even we don't really understand completely how they interact together. So the key thing here is having a balanced meal. And by balanced meal, I mean having carbohydrates, having proteins, and having fruits and vegetables at every meal. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So the first thing, or the first food group that I'm going to recommend that you add to improve your productivity is carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are one of the three main macronutrients. So we have carbohydrates, we have proteins, and we have fats. But carbohydrate is what gives us the sugar or glucose that is our body's main source of energy. We can't be productive if we don't have energy. There's different forms of carbohydrates. We have sugars, which I've talked about, are those ones who are really quick digesting, they don't last. But we also have starches. So starches you find in things like, rice or potatoes, cassava, gari, more whole foods. And that's really where you want your sugar from, things that will digest a little bit more slowly and keep that energy level consistent throughout the day. And another type of carbohydrate is fiber. Fiber doesn't get digested, but it slows down digestion. So it helps, again, maintain your energy levels. You can find carbohydrates in whole grains or grains in general. So again, rice, potatoes, gari, fufu, cassava. You can find it in vegetables. You can find it in fruit as well. So apples and bananas, etc. So what you want, like I said, is to stay with the more complex carbs. So whole foods, things that are not too processed. And you want to have enough carbs. So too little carbs will leave you feeling weak, it will leave you tired, it won't give you enough energy, and so your concentration will be low. There is a direct link with low sugar levels and low self-control. So when your sugar levels are low, it also inhibits your self-control. You're more likely to make unhealthy food choices at that time. But even beyond that, you're more likely to have less willpower to do the things that you need to do. You're more likely to procrastinate on that assignment that needs to be done, or procrastinate on the cleaning that you have to do. So low sugar levels really reduces your willpower. So you want to make sure that you're having enough. But again, you don't want to have too much, right? So too much will make too much insulin. It will flood your brain with hormones, things like serotonin, tryptophan. So basically, these are just hormones that are sometimes related to sleep. So again, you start to feel sleepy, you start to feel tired. So you might be asking, how much carbs should I have? Well, the recommended amount is about the size of your fist. So if you're going to have gari, or if you're going to have some rice, you want to have about the size of your fist. That would be in proportion to your body and your body's needs. The next thing I recommend that you add is fruits and vegetables. Now, there's so many nutrients in fruits and vegetables. They stimulate a hormone. It's called dopamine. It's responsible for engagement. It's responsible for motivation. But beyond that, fruits and vegetables are rich in something we call antioxidants. The way I like to simplify antioxidants is think of color. Where you see color, you see antioxidants. And these really help improve mood. They keep your brain cells healthy. They prevent cell degeneration or cell breakdown. And they really boost your mood. So you really want to include a variety of fruits and vegetables. So things like banana, it has carbohydrates, it has potassium that really helps that give you long-lasting energy. Any leafy greens. So here in Canada, we have things like kale or spinach. I know if you're in Nigeria or more of the African countries, you can have, things like ugu, water leaf, bitter leaf. These leaves are rich in iron. They help us carry oxygen even to our body, our brains. That helps create energy for productivity. And one thing that I like to highlight are berries. Now, I know berries might not be as accessible in like West Africa, but you think of any fruit that has a lot of color, any fruit that is vibrant in color, maybe something like a red apple that is vibrant in color. So when you want to pick your fruits, try and think of the ones that are more vibrant, because the color means that it's rich in antioxidants. That's going to protect that brain from damage and also improve communication between your nerves, or communication between, your mind and thinking on the spot, thinking quickly. etc. And the last thing that I'm going to recommend that you add, which is the third food group, if you haven't noticed, is protein. And oh, just to mention about fruits and vegetables, you do want to add as much as you can. We will typically say try and make half of your plate fruits and vegetables. So a lot of fruits and vegetables in the day. And so finally, the thing you want to add is protein. So protein really helps slow down digestion. That slow digestion is going to give you sustained energy. But in addition, protein actually helps you feel full. It improves your satisfaction with meals. It means that you're not going to feel hungry quickly. It will lead to less of a chance of overeating or eating too much, which like we've discussed, can decrease your productivity. But also protein has the ability to stimulate some brain cells that help you stay alert or help keep you awake or keep your brain sharp, right? So this is what you want to add to your diet. There are many good sources of protein, but some that I want to highlight will be fatty fish, so things like mackerel, things like salmon, things like sardines. If you like sardines in the can, I think they're an excellent source of protein, but they also provide us with what we call omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3 fatty acids is really just gold oil. It's the type of fat. It's excellent for your brain. It helps keep your brain, sharp and healthy and alert. And that's what you want. And so a mixture of the protein plus those healthy fats will give you the fuel that you need and the energy that you need for work or school or life activities that you're engaged in. Also, meat is a good source of protein, but specifically lean meat. And so by lean meat, I really just mean meat without fat. So if you're eating meat and there's fat on it, I will recommend that you cut that out, because again, that fat is going to require much more energy to be digested. It's going to leave you feeling groggy and down. So the leaner the meat, the better for you. Again, it's going to give you that protein. It's going to sustain you and keep you and give you long-lasting energy. And the last one I want to highlight, this list is by no means exhaustive, but in the interest of time, I just put these three. But I wanted to highlight lentils and beans. I like lentils and beans. They're a great source of protein, but they're also a very low-cost source of protein. So if maybe financing or budget might be an issue, don't worry about that. Lentils and beans can also provide you with a good amount of protein in your diet. And they also provide you with fiber, right, which is going to help keep that food in your stomach. It's going to cause that food to last longer. And depending on how you cook them, they have almost no saturated fats, depending on how you cook them, depending on what oils you use and how much oils you add. And they can have a little amount of salt, depending again on how much salt you have. But if you cook your beans and your lentils without too much, so by beans and lentils, I mean things like black-eyed peas, things like chickpeas, etc. If you cook them with not a lot of fat and not a lot of salt, they provide an excellent source of protein that actually helps boost your productivity and boost your mental alertness. So now let's switch to the things that you want to limit or the things that you want to restrict in your diet. And one of those things is salt. Now, our body is about 50 to 70% water. So obviously, for our systems to function the way that is effective and efficient, we need to be well hydrated. And when we have too much salt or too much sodium, sodium is just the fancy technical name for salt, that can lead to dehydration. One key way to tell if you're dehydrated or not is to just look at the color of your pee. So when you pee, if it is dark yellow, then that's a sign that maybe you're dehydrated. Really, for optimum hydration, what you want is for it to be a light yellow. If it's clear, you might be too hydrated, which could also come with complications of its own. But really, you want it to be just light yellow or almost clear, sort of in that realm. That's how you can gauge if you're well hydrated or not. Now, too much salt leads to dehydration because our kidneys have to get rid of all the salt that you've eaten from your diet, and your kidneys need water to actually get rid of that salt, be it through sweat or by increasing the amount of pee or times that you have to go pee. So too much salt depletes your hydration levels. And we know from research that even just 2% being dehydrated by as little as 2% can actually limit or diminish your cognitive ability. So by cognitive ability, I mean your ability to reason, your ability to think, your mental alertness. and it can decrease your short-term memory. All these things are useful for productivity when you're at work, when you're in school, or just in life in general. And so some of the things you want to be mindful of are things like hot dogs or sausages. Like I know, again, if you're in Nigeria, there is more of an adoption of these kinds of foods. I would generally say anything that is processed, to cut back on it, limit it, make it more of a treat once in a while. Also things like Maggi, Ajinomoto, those things are they're really high in salt. So I would, again, limit how much of it you're putting in your food, because that could be leading to dehydration, which is maybe the reason why you always feel tired and you're not as productive as you would like to be. And then coffee, I'm not sure how popular coffee is right now, if you're in Africa, but I know here in West Africa, it is, North America, I should say, it is very popular. People just love their coffee. Now, there's conflicting research when it comes to coffee. There's some studies that show that it enhances mental alertness and productivity. Some others show that it decreases productivity. Regardless of what side of the fence that you're on, one thing is clear, that too much caffeine can cause things like headaches, it can cause irritability, it can cause trouble sleeping, it can even cause symptoms like heart palpitations. Now, we can all agree on the fact that these things do not lead to productivity. They actually hinder your productivity. They hinder your ability to work or to put in the work that you need. And when I talk about caffeine, I'm not just talking about the caffeine from coffee. I'm talking about caffeine from all sources, things like tea. There's some teas that contain caffeine, even Coke. A lot of people don't know that Coke or Pepsi or these cola drinks actually contain caffeine. If you drink too much of them, you can have these symptoms too. Things like energy drinks will contain a good amount of caffeine in them. Chocolate has caffeine in it. So I'm talking about all sources of caffeine. When you combine your coffee plus your chocolate plus your tea plus your Coke, how much caffeine are you getting? The recommended amount is to get about 400 milligrams or less per day. And so 400 milligrams, really, to kind of put that into context, is about 4 cups of coffee. And this is not considering or taking into account the other sources that I've talked about. So if you're someone who just enjoys coffee, or you enjoy having a drink, be it in the morning or during the day or at night, I would say maybe substitute for things that are a little less caffeinated. So things like decaf coffee, things like green tea, black tea, they have considerably less amount of caffeine, but also maybe cutting back on like cola drinks, so Coke or Pepsi, and drinking more of the Sprites, even though I recommend not to even drink those at all. Again, those are really high sources of sugar. They will give you quick bursts of energy, but they won't sustain you. They will crash you. So while I would say instead of Coke to drink Fanta or Sprite, I'm by no means encouraging you to drink it. I'm just saying that if you do, that could be a substitute that you could make. And then the last I want to talk about is alcohol. Now, alcohol is a depressant drug. I always feel like, alcohol is one of those things that has become acceptable in society, but it's actually quite a dangerous drug. It's associated with so many negative things like cancer, etc. And it doesn't really help your productivity, to be honest. It slows down messages from your brain to your body, from your body to your brain. It can affect your problem-solving skills, so your judgment, your concentration, your ability to react quickly to things, coordination, all of these things which are essential for productivity. But even further, it impairs your ability to engage in self-care. So self-care would be eating healthily, what we're talking about today. Self-care could be engaging in physical activity, which we know is going to improve your health and improve your productivity. Even self-care, like having enough rest, sleeping, taking care of yourself, engaging in these activities that make you feel well rested, improve your well-being, and help you engage in more productive activities. So alcohol really impairs that. And it increases your risk for accidents and injuries. So depending on the industry that you work in, so if you work in a factory now, for example, where you really need to be alert, where there's a higher chance of injuries, or if you work in construction or building buildings, all the sorts of jobs that you're dealing with equipment, it's a high risk, high engagement job. alcohol impairs that and increases your risk for injuries. So this is something that I would definitely encourage you, if you can, to just cut out. I don't really think there's that much benefits to drinking alcohol at all, but there's so many harms. Some of them we're still finding out as time goes on. And so to kind of summarize things and to make it a little bit more holistic, some practical tips on what you can do or how you can eat that will help you with just maintaining productivity. One of it is to eat regularly. And by eating regularly, I mean eating 3 meals a day and not allowing more than 6 hours to go between meals. Ideally, every 4 to 6 hours, you want to have something to eat. Now, the idea behind that is you want to eat before you get really hungry, because if you wait till you get really hungry, you're not going to make healthy decisions. Have you ever experienced, maybe you're going somewhere, maybe on the bus or in the car, and oh, you're very hungry, so you buy gala and lacasera just to quell your hunger? Well, gala and lacasera is not really a healthy food or a balanced meal. It's what we call processed foods, right? So it's one of those foods that will give you a lot of salt or sodium, and it's one of those foods that will, give you a quick burst of energy, but will end up crashing you. But the reason why you made that decision was you were so hungry, you didn't really have the ability to make something that is healthy or balanced. So eating regularly will help you prevent getting to the table really hungry where you're not able to make those healthy choices. But another thing I would encourage is don't eat while you work. Don't eat while you're doing assignments. Don't eat while watching TV. When you want to eat, just focus on the food. The reason why is when you focus on your food, you're able to be a bit more mindful, to pay attention to your body's signals. When your tummy tells you it's full, you'll be much more likely to catch that because your concentration is there. If you eat while you're doing other things, your mind is busy and you have the tendency to eat a lot more or to eat a big meal. And like we discussed earlier, when you eat a big meal, then all the energy goes into your belly to try and digest that food. It's taking away capacity from your brain. So eat mindfully, eat and be present with your meal. Definitely reduce your sugar intake. So sweets, candies, chocolates, even the sugar you add, maybe if you want to soak gari, the sugar that you add there, or maybe to your pap or whatever it is, your oatmeal, limiting that sugar. Again, sugar will crash you. It will leave you feeling very groggy, very tired. And as much as you can, eat a balanced meal. So proteins, carbohydrates, and fruits and vegetables, about a fist-sized amount of carbohydrate, about a palm-sized amount of protein, and about half of your plate vegetables. And don't forget to stay hydrated because your body needs water to run effectively. I mean, that is what your body is made up of the most. Anyways, so that really is a quick run through on how diet and can affect your productivity. There's much more to this conversation, but I thought within the time that I had, this might be some useful tips to share with you. If you have any questions, by all means, I'll be happy to answer them at the Q&A session. Thank you so much.
Super amazing. What would you guys say? I say this is value packed. Thank you so much, Oribim. Thank you so much for feeding us with all of this wonderful information. We needed to know that a fist size of carbohydrate, a palm size for protein, and half plate for your fruit and veggies serving. Like you shattered some table. Don't eat while you're walking. Some of us, is when we're walking, that's when we carry that bowl of eba and a goosey soup, and then you will sit with it and you will eat till you can't even stand up to return your plate to the kitchen. Hey, so many tables have been shattered this evening. You guys, let me know what you have learned so far. Let me know. Put it in the chat box. Let me see those information you've been able to pick. Let me know what your light bulb moment was in this webinar so far. I tell you, we don't just do things at FAGI. It is always premium value. It is always premium value. I learned a lot. I learned how diet is not only the key player in our productivity. I want you guys to put in what you learned in the chat box. I want to see it. I want to say thank you so much. Olubumi says that was a fantastic presentation. Oluwaferami says that was an awesome, great, and lovely presentation. Please, I want you guys to, put it in the chat box. Yes, how to. It's so wonderful. Yes, thank you so much. So wonderful. I did learn a lot. One other thing I want to reemphasize is that food or nutrients don't work in isolation. While fruits are very, very important, while fruits and vegetables are like one strong key players in our diet, it shouldn't be the only food. It shouldn't be the only food. You definitely, like she said, need carbohydrates that can sustain your energy. So it's not hungry, I'm tired. You take 2 rolls of sausage rolls and then you take 2 bottles of sugar-loaded drinks. No. In fact, like she said, these things contain, for example, Coca-Cola contains a whole load of caffeine and sugar, and you feel like, yes, this is it. This is the energy I need. But after some time, you find out that you're hungry again because you have only given your body the kind of energy it needs for some minutes or maybe about an hour or thereabouts. You have not given it the kind of energy that it can be sustained on or that it can thrive on. Thank you so much, Oribim. We did learn a lot, and I'm super, super excited to be your host because I feel so excited about this already. All right, I'm going to take the questions later. Hey, you don't want to watch movies while eating because you would not be mindful of the food you eat. Yeah, someone say reduce the salt intake to prevent dehydration. Yes, very important. Even our seasoning contains monosodium glutamate at very large quantity. You understand? So these are things you should do. Sometimes you can replace this seasoning with some other natural flavors seasonings. You can grind crayfish, especially those of us in West Africa. We're so privileged to have some natural and condiments. Now, when you put them together, they can give you the flavor and the taste that you so desire. And of course, the nutrients is something else to look out for. I'm going to take questions after this section. After the next speaker, I'm going to take the questions we have. Okay, so I'm going to be introducing my next speaker. Everybody say da-da-da, drum rolls. My next speaker is an amazing woman. Like, you guys, see who we have here today. See who we have here today. We have Perfecta Osawaru. I hope I didn't know more than that name. Please forgive me if I did. Perfecta Osawaru is an alternative medical practitioner and a women health specialist who has worked alongside Nigeria's top acupuncturists and physiotherapists. Perfecta's mandate is to help people journey through life in pain-free manner so that they can have more productive and innovative time as opposed to nursing pains. She is the founder Renoma Holistic Health, and she specializes in pain management and women's health. She's also the host of Share Your Story with Renoma, a weekly podcast featuring true life stories of women's health strategies, of women's health struggles, forgive me please, with the vision of helping women understand that their pain is valid, whether it is viewed as benign or life-threatening, and encouraging them to seek help for their diverse health needs in time. So quickly, I have to say this, one of the things you want to do after this webinar is to follow our speakers on their various social media platforms, connect with them, and you would sure learn a whole lot. You can also listen to Perfecta's podcast at Share Your Story with Renoma. So Perfecta, thank you so much for joining us on today's webinar. I feel super excited to be your host, and I can't wait to learn from your wealth of knowledge. The ball is in your court. Hello, Perfecta. Are you here? You can actually take over.
Right. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Welcome.
Yeah, right. Okay. So thank you for that warm introduction. Right. As she has said, my name is Dr. Perfecta, actually. Right. Thank you so much. I can see Abimbola and I can see Olubumi in the comments. Thank you so much. All right. So I was going to commend Oribim for all of the explanation that she made about the effects of diet and nutrition on physical health and productivity. It was one encompassing. Thank you so much, Tulane. Right. It was one encompassing class, like what she explained and all of that. So I'll be talking on effects of diet and nutrition on mental health and productivity. And I would love for it to be very interactive. So as you're listening, you put a comment. Thank you. I can see that the comment section is already very, very public. So you can. Thank you so much, Toby. Yeah, right. Okay. So I'll just give me a second. All right. So yeah, thank you, success. So yes, I'm a naturopath and an acupuncturist. I don't know if many people know what that is. Basically, it means that I practice holistic form of healing as opposed to orthodox medicine. So I'm sure you're more conversant with people when you're ill, or when someone around you is ill. So they basically prescribe medications or injections or drugs, anything like that, to basically provide healing to the person. But what I practice is holistic form of healing, and that's what makes me a naturopath, and acupuncturist. So any other thing that has to do with natural therapies, acupuncture, herbal medicine, nutritional medicine, and all the likes like that. So yes, like you said again, I'm the founder of Renoma Holistic Health, and we basically specialize in pain management and women's health. The host of Share a Story Renoma podcast, and I authored a book recently, Flow Freely. It's practical steps to helping you understand your body and have a painless period. So it's going to be very useful for all the ladies and even men on this call if you're looking to understand how the female body works extensively. So I've appeared in several media houses, TVC, Classic FM, amongst others. And yeah, my major mandate is to help people journey through life in a pain-free manner so that they can have more productive time as opposed to nursing pains, more productive and innovative time as opposed to nursing pains. All right, I do this through every medium possible to explain that. So now, straight up to the topic we're dealing with today. One of the things that Rebim said was you are what you eat. And I know that a lot of people are conversant with hearing you are what you eat, you are what you eat, you are what you eat. But breaking it down for more than just a statement, you are what you eat. Do you know what you're supposed to eat that would make it maybe more better for you to optimize your health? So there's an image on your screen right now. You can see an image of there's A and there's B. So image A is basically looks like a veggie or a healthy meal, and then image B looks like junks and all of that. So over the roof of your head, what do you naturally go for? Let me see you put a comment in the comment section. A or B, whenever you're hungry, what's your go-to meal? What's your go-to meal? Lu Mayo, while your hand is raised up, I mean, you can just put in your comment into the comment section. Okay, I can see Adeosho Joy said B, right? I like the sincerity, like the honesty that is going on in here. So wait for more answers, right? It's interactive, so everyone has to say something. It's not anything to talk like that. B, interested. Most times B, no, I want A. I like that, the honesty. So I like that everybody, depending on where I am, though, B. Interesting. right? So more people, we have more people on the call, so you could just drop your. It's more of a that's one person. It's like, so let's say that's ratio what ratio what? Usually B all the way, right? So majority of I do more of A though. Okay, that's two persons, Abimbola and Success Adora says she do more of A though. Okay, now for everyone that like chose B, what's your reason for choosing B? A 100% will be me. So let's make this very interactive. If you chose A, can you say your reason? Like, okay, this is the reason why I choose A in spite of B. And this is the reason why I go for B, even though I want to go for A. Let's see that. Comment in the chat box. Yeah, there are many B's. So why do you go for B? Like, what's your reason? What's that seemingly difficult situation that cannot make you go for A? And if you go for A, what's your reason? Like, in spite of seeing B, why do you go for A? I go for B because it's more accessible. Nice, Joy. Someone else? Anybody else? That's only Joy. I go for B because I like the smell of chops. Okay, that's different. I do B at times because of the time needed to prepare a angles. It's fast to get and it was sweet tooth. Honesty. Oliver Ferrami, like you. Okay, somebody else. I do A as it's cheaper. Okay. The similarity as more accessible because I like the smell, because it's faster, because I'm a sweet tooth, because it's cheaper. I understand B isn't healthy for me, and I have to do what I preach. So A is everything for me because it's natural. Amazing. Success, I'm happy for you. A isn't accessible where I am. Lamide, that's very, very different. A isn't accessible where you are. So I don't know where you are, but thank you all for putting in your own. I just laughed, right? It depends on the accessibility. Okay, so I'm thinking everybody said accessibility. Some people say because I like the smell. Some people say because I like chops and all of that. So now, when you hear the statement, you are what you eat, I think it makes more sense because if you are navigating towards A and you know that because you want to, like Success said, she wants to preach what she wants to be rather a doer of what she preaches. So she has to go for natural. She has to go for A. And then other people that are choosing B. Now, one thing that is very common amongst all the selection of the Bs is that they all know that it's not healthy. It's not the best option. But then they have reasons as to why they are going for B because I love the smell, because it's cheaper, because it's accessible, none of that. Now, this is going to form the basis of all of the conversations that we'll be speaking on today. Now, if you say it is cheaper, let me first start by debunking that. I'd say that if you say easily accessible, perhaps yes. But why is it easily accessible? It's only easily accessible because you do not plan well what you're going to eat. It's only easily accessible because you do not make preparations of what you're going to eat. So when you're in that state where you're extremely hungry and you've worked a lot and all of that, that's the next thing you're easily navigating towards to eat. Exactly, right. Whatever Success just said. She said, yes, they've changed their mind to accept the pleasure that comes from B only. Thank you, Success. Yes. So you're only like navigating towards that B because I mean like it's easy accessible, probably sweet tooth, like someone else just said, sweet tooth, or the smell or the looks again can always be very, it can be very inviting. So and those that go for A is because they know that they probably need A as much as they need for their health to function properly. So now if you've gone for B, if you eat a lot of refined foods, it doesn't make you a more refined person because everyone that chose B basically know that that's refined food. Refined foods, refined foods, refined foods. So you want to know that whatever your choice is, whatever thing you're navigating towards, you need to know what it is. Sorry, I've been on no CDS challenge since January 1st, 2023. So I prefer something natural, 98% natural. Exactly. That's because you chose something. And that brings us to the next thing we'll be talking about. From what can you get the next slide, please? Okay, thank you. So from what Olubumi just said, he said, I've been on no CDS challenge since January 1st, 2023. So I prefer something natural, 98% natural. Now let's go with diet. He has been on some sort of diet or some sort of plan, whatever it is that is making him or her, I don't know, I think that's the guy, right? Navigate towards saying, okay, I want to do 98%. natural. Now let me state this. It is perfect for Olubimi to start that plan from January 1st and sustains that on the long run. More than just starting it for 30 days or 60 days and then stopping. So because when you say diet and all of that, many people start with so much what do you call it, enthusiasm, so much strength and all of that, because they were probably looking towards burning belly fat, or maybe they want to optimize something or the other. So they just go, I'm going on a 60-day challenge, I'm going on a 30-day off this challenge. And let me say something to you. Healthy living is more than a 30-day challenge. Healthy eating is more than a 60-day challenge, or more than just cutting sodas or doing it with sugars. Diet is one word that has been overly bastardized. So everybody's going, I'm on a diet, I'm on a diet, I'm on a diet. If you have ever said you're on a diet this life, you know that you have said you're on this diet or that diet or that. If you started something before and you told yourself that, okay, I'm going to stay off this day for 30 days, and after 30 days, you see yourself going back to it. Be truthful. Just say, I have. Yes, me. You're talking about me. It's me. Yeah. Everybody, anybody. I'm waiting for our comments. Remember, it's interactive. So I'm waiting for someone, anybody to say anything, right? Olubumi, you talked about being on, you prefer something natural, and I say 50% natural. Is that a long-term thing for you, or is that something you're just doing at the moment because you probably looking towards gaining something or the other? Anybody, somebody say something. There's Joseph, Tumishe, Steven, Oluwa, Toby Loba, Toby, Kalumi, Feromi. Have you ever, gone on a diet plan, something that you just like, okay, I don't want to take this thing for a certain number of days. I will get back to this when that. Once I'm waiting for someone to say something, I'm going to say that diet comes from a Greek word, dieta. Okay, someone has helped us. Stephen, I won't take junks, but when cash no day, I won't take junks, but when cash no day, I return jejely. Yes, I have, but it didn't last a week. Oluwakoremi, thank you for being honest. Stephen, thank you for being honest. Exactly. Yes, you have, but it didn't last a week. Now, tell me, why did you start something and didn't continue it? It's because you, or not just you, because of the way diet or nutrition has been sold to us, it's oftentimes seen as something that you need to do because you're looking to achieve one thing or the other. And then I won't take carbonated drinks. God's glory says I won't take carbonated drinks. Oluwatobi says, yeah, I have tried more of veggies, but it didn't even last. Maybe because I didn't have more insight about it. And that's really honest. Thank you, Toby, because this is what this is all about. You need to have more knowledge about what it means with diet, nutrition, and the effect it has on your mental health and your productivity. Diet is from the Greek word dieta, which means a way of life. It's a way of life. So if you subject yourself and you put yourself to a 30-day this or a 1 week that, you tried and it didn't last because you're not doing something that is spectacular to you. Now, my diet is not going to be God's glory's diet. God's glory's diet plan is not going to be Akindipe's diet, not going to be Oluwatobi's diet, not going to be Adiola's diet, because it's a way of life that is unique to me. It's a way of life that is unique to you. It's a way of life that is unique to another person. So if you are trying so hard to cut out something that I'm cutting out, because that's one thing that I want to do. So whenever you're thinking about diet, think about something that is easily accessible to you, easily something that you can easily commit to, and something that you think that is beneficial for you on the long journey through your way of life, like through your journey of life. So you don't want to start up with so much enthusiasm and you're like, I'm going on a 30-day off this. If your reality is I need to stay off it, maybe instead of taking it every day, I need to start taking it once a week and then maybe twice a week, and then you gradually wean off it, because that's what's realistic to you, other than just one overly hyped stay of this thing for that. And then when you're now done with your 30-day or 60-day thing, you now go back heavily on the thing you just stayed off. That's not a way of life. That's more like just doing stuff. That's a challenge that has no end goal. So Rachel says, I have, but I was not consistent. Also, my environment. For example, being a student, snack is the easiest to get when I suddenly get hungry during lectures. Exactly, I get what you're saying, Toby. That's what I was talking about. I said that the reason why most people think it's accessible, why most people think the part B of the slide is accessible, is because they do not plan ahead for what they are going to eat. So you're a student and you know you're going to be in class from morning till evening or morning to afternoon. You need to like factor into the fact that you're going to be hungry and this is what you're going to eat. Because when you consistently consume just refined foods, it will just suddenly lead to this entire spark and this whole spark in your body system, and then you're really like, motivated to do whatever you want to do. But the same way if the spark goes up, the spike rather goes up, that's the same way to just come down. And at the end of the day, you're not really maximizing productivity because it's oftentimes like a very, very short time, like what they call this thing, quick effect that wears off immediately. So if you've understood what I'm saying, sis, let me hear you say, I understand, I'm following, I get it, all of that. Thank you, Kolawale. Thank you, Victoria. Right. Thank you, Palumi. Thank you, Stephen. Right. Okay, so now, thank you, Ulakarami. I said the name now. Adeosu, and every other person, right? So now let's talk about nutrition. What does it entail? Right. Thank you, Olubumi. I'm breaking down diet and nutrition because you first need to understand what diet is, what nutrition is. Then you now need to understand the effect it has on your mental health and on your productivity. So nutrition, what does it entail? Nutrition basically is eating a healthy and balanced diet. Now, breaking down just that simple definition, healthy. What does it mean to be healthy? So the foods that you're eating basically, like Oribim was talking about carbohydrates, and then you eating vegetables and all of that. They're really good points that she mentioned. And this is where they come into play. Healthy, food for growth, metabolism and repair of tissues. Now, if what you navigated to when we first started the slide was beef, you want to ask yourself, if you consistently take soda and refined food, are they foods that are going to that are sufficient enough for repairing of your tissues? Are they foods that are sufficient enough for growth? Are they foods that are sufficient enough for your metabolism? Are they on the long run? Is that a quick fix? Is that something that you're just naturally like going into, or is that something that can be sustained over time? Now, this is nutrition is eating a healthy and balanced diet. Healthy food for growth, metabolism, repair of tissues in a balanced diet. Diet is what? A way of life. In a specific way of life that's in the right proportion to you. If you get the definition, let me know you get it. Nutrition is eating a healthy and balanced diet. And now I have to break this down. This is like originally my own breaking down of that definition, because I mean, like when you hear a word, when you hear something like, when you hear a word, healthy, you need to understand what healthy means. When you hear the word balanced diet, because we're oftentimes saying, oh, I'm eating balanced diet, and then people pack protein, this, that in one like plate, one food, or one meal, and then they feel like that's balanced diet. But you need to understand that whatever you're eating has to be a specific, it has to be in the right proportion that is specific to you. Something that you can over time, either increase or reduce based on your own way of life. And again, because you need to take care of your body, like it's the only place that you have to live in. So you really need to understand this. Right. Thank you. I can see everybody saying I'm following, I understand. Now let's bring it down to mental health. This is a quote by Steve Maraboli. It says, it's up to you today to start making healthy choices. Not choices that are just healthy for your body, but healthy for your mind. It emphasizes the need to take care of your mind. There's always a link. Everything is linked. The foods you eat to your physical health, the foods you eat to your mental health, the foods you eat to how well or effective you even exercise and your general lifestyle. So it's up to you today to start making healthy choices. So if you navigated towards a part of the slide, you know that you're on the right track, but you need to have such a plan that makes you not just derail from it. So it's something that you are on the long run, working towards. Because you know that when you consistently eat healthy like that, it fuels your productivity, fuels the way you respond when it comes to doing tasks. and then your mental health. Now, hope you know that if you continually consume refined foods, they are foods that are naturally high in inflammation. They can predispose you to inflammation, and then inflammation is not just affecting your physical health, as in terms of maybe the pain that you feel or the swelling or whatever. It also continually consuming refined foods can also like give you can also lead to a person dealing with anxiety or depression and all of that, because you're not consuming the foods that are important for your body's repair, metabolism, and even growth. So all of that is linked. So if you because many people know these things, but they just really want it to be like more broken down for them to understand the entire part. So you need to know that it's up to you today. If you've made wrong choices before, it's fine, don't beat yourself over it. But then you have a chance to correct all of that, and then start making healthier choices. Healthier choices that it's not just good for your body, but it's good and healthy for your mind. Because then a healthy mind, health is not just the absence of illnesses and all of that. So everything has to function properly, and then especially your brain and everything functioning. Like if a person is dealing with anxiety or depression or dealing with constant agitation when it comes to the person's mental health, that already has impaired productivity. Because again, if person is with anxiety, depression, and all of that, and if you are writing it down to the kind of food that the person eats, more than also the information that the person consumes, but we're talking about food and diet right now, diet and nutrition, I mean to say, it would impair the person's brain functioning. And if anything is disturbing that, automatically that productivity is already not heightened. And you need to know there's something called dose. I didn't include it in my slide, but it's dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphin. Let me say that again. Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphin. So basically it's like dose, D-O-S-E, dose. And those are feel-good chemicals. If you want to do anything, like you want to really be productive, you know that you need to be in that state where the feel-good chemicals, like everything that is going on in your brain, is like you're feeling very good, you're feeling very euphoric, you're feeling very, at alert, and then you can do good work. But if you continually consume foods that don't even give you that or feeling, I know you would beg to differ and say, oh, when you eat like a fried chicken or maybe something like a junk food, you get all like happy, and then all of a sudden, that can help you like boost your productivity. But that's not sustained, because that can happen because when you consume the food, there's that spike that I said again, just goes up, and then you're doing that. But over time, on the long run, it's not going to pay you. It's really not going to pay you. So you want to make a decision today. If you're part of people that will make a decision today, and you're like, okay, so I'm going to start making healthier choices. That's not just healthy for my body, or not just healthy for my tongue or my palate. So you're not going to just be consuming foods that seem sweet, just because it's tasty. But you know that this food that you're consuming, it has a lot to do with the general function of your body. Let me say you say something in the comment section. You know that you're going to start making healthier choices for your body and healthy for your mind. And if you don't, you don't be, you can also be sincere, and they would start asking why you think you don't want to do that, right? Can you next slide? I'm waiting for responses in the chat box. Okay, so while I'm waiting for that, this is the kind part I'm going to be talking about. And I talked about how what you eat can affect your mood and impair your productivity, right? So food isn't simply fuel. Oribim spoke about how food is fuel for your body, and if you want your body to function very well, you will not put you put a premium fuel in it, something that can last long, something that can take you for long. And I think what she was trying to say there was people that are always going towards taking refined food. That's not premium fuel enough for your body to function. So if you want your body to function enough, you would have to put premium fuel for your body to function. And I'm saying that food is fuel, yes, but it's not just fuel alone, because the foods that we eat affect us more than we realize. They do, and that's what I've been explaining all through this time. Like talking about consuming foods that are refined a lot, because they are probably fried foods, they're probably dairy products, most dairy products, or probably all these fizzy drinks, and they're high in caffeine, like she was talking about. That most sodas are even they have caffeine in them and people don't even know, and all of that. So consuming all of these things on the long run has a way to affect you generally. And it's not just about you talking about, oh, I'm just eating for. So if you're part of the people that of that notion that, oh, you're just eating to just have energy to just work, you need to come off that notion. You need to reconfigure the way you see food. You need to reconfigure the way you were taught or the way you are known or understood food to be. Food is fuel, but then it's not just fuel. Every other thing that you do, every other prerequisite of your life, even if a person dealing with maybe a chronic illness or not, everything starts from what you eat and how you ingest it and the whole process that goes in. So you want to do something for yourself because Oribim already she touched a lot of those carbohydrates and foods and all of that. So one thing that I want you to leave with today is always make your eating decision before you get hungry. That's the only way you can curb navigating towards the B part of the diagram than the A part of it. So if you're like Olubimi or Abimbola or I think someone else said A the other time, they probably have planned ahead, or if they want to share with us how they I don't know, Olubimi, if you want to share with us how you prep, and Success also want to share with us how you prep ahead for eating healthy. Abimbola, if you want to share with us, so because it's interactive, so when you share what you know, people can just take a cue from it. They just understand that, oh, it's not just like the teaching thing. It's something that is feasible, realistic, because one or two or three other persons in this webinar is already currently doing that. So you want to make sure that you make an eating decision before you get hungry. Making an eating decision means that you plan ahead for what you want to do. Again, you plan ahead, but you don't wait till you are probably like down working or something like that before you start making your eating decision. All right. Okay. Yes, sure. You can unmute yourself. Thank you so much. Sophia says she would like to speak. You can unmute yourself and let's
Okay, just to speak to that, I guess you asked the question
yes,
about how I've been able to do it. So one of the things our brain, our subconscious mind help us to do is to align our habits with with the patterns it has seen consistently in our lives, and to align it with the decisions we hope to make and who we hope to see. So one of the things I do is I consciously remind myself the reason why I need to eat healthy. I need to eat healthy because I want to live a healthy lifestyle. I want to have a healthy body. I want to grow healthy and all of that. Now, there are times that I fall short of these things in the sense that I don't even eat at all. I don't eat well. And then I can become weak and all of that. So one of the things you want to do is to condition your mind to see that there is actually no pleasure in most of these foods that seems pleasurable. So you want to really condition your mind to that aspect. I stopped taking carbonated drinks, soda drinks in 2020. Since 2020, I have stopped taking it. And I was just challenged by somebody who seemed not to even know as much as I think I do when it comes to healthy living. So I was really challenged. And then I started the journey with the fact that, okay, I used to be an ulcer patient. I can't remember the last time I had an ulcer crisis. And I know that one of the triggers for ulcer is carbonated drinks and the like. So I told myself, even if this is the only aspect of my health this would cater for, I would not take it. Now, there are times I've been tempted to take it because I had low energy levels. So what I do on such days is I resort to some energy-dense fruits, you understand, or food rich in carbohydrates. So you may want to invest in a food like banana. Banana has high sugar, but it's healthier. It's healthier than taking other things. So, and another thing is to find replacements for just about everything you seem to like. Sometimes you want to snack in between work because you can't really stand up to go and cook. These things are quite understandable. So you want to replace the food you snack with healthier options. Don't take it out totally because that's not the way good habits are being formed. The way good habits are being formed is by replacing the negative habits with more positive habits that would actually still give you a pleasurable result at the end of the day. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Success, for sharing. I mean, like you shared so passionately, and I love that. Like I said again, it's an interactive webinar, so it's not just me teaching, everyone had one or two things to say. And I love that it was really interactive. And I love the point that you made. Thank you. Exactly. See, success, what you just said, just help someone, right? Because, like I said, because it's a way of life for you, diet's a way of life for you. You don't just want to if you know that your reality is not automatically just changing everything, it won't work for you. Like she said, she replaced it gradually. It's a process, it's a way of life. And why is this sustainable for her since 2020 till now? Because she found a way that was specific to her, and then she worked in that life. So you don't want to choose someone else's way of life, someone else's, diet plan, or someone else's thing that's feasible for the person, rather for yourself. You need to consistently seek for ways that you can help yourself with your diet, your lifestyle, and how we can positively also impact it. Another thing that I said that I know that Success also made mention of is taste. I feel like one of the problems that most people oftentimes encounter is the taste. I tell my patients something. I say, if you understand that some taste, like the taste ends just in your tongue, like basically in your mouth. And once you have swallowed it down, once you've got down that food down, it's either doing something good or doing something bad. So every time that you have to consciously remind yourself like that, you would see that you would naturally stop like consuming some things in much quantity, and over time you would find a way to get over it. If you understand that it all ends in your mouth. Whatever savoring, tasting, what taste that you can never just get off. If you understand that it ends in your mouth, that simple statement would help you start just taste. When you understand that after this time, it's so salty, so sugary, so this, whatever, I really love it. When you understand that it ends in your mouth, and after you gulp it down, it's either doing something good or bad, it would help you, gradually make healthy choices, and then stick to it. And so thank you so much. That's the end of all of this. Let me know. Okay, so Bimbola said something. She said, truly, healthy living starts with a decision, and a decision to commit to such. Exactly. So you don't just say, oh, this is what I want to do. You would make that decision, and you would also decide to commit to it, because again, no one can do what you can do for yourself for you. Right. Thank you so much.
Wow, 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 wow. I
love it. Somebody say, I love it. Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Perfecta. This was a perfect webinar. I really, really love it. And yes, I'm a very passionate person. I have so much energy. Although I took a high energy food this morning. I've learned my own. I've learned what I should take away from this. Some basketballs that he gave me. I took pancake this morning. Let me even confess. I took pancake and tea this morning. But then, we just have to learn how to balance it, which is one of the key takeaways for me from this. You have to. I hope you guys have been hearing me, because I've been using all of my energy to speak. Have you guys been hearing me just before now? Please put it in the chat box if you've been hearing me. Okay. Dr. Perfecta, you really, really did justice to this. I mean, we have such amazing speakers in the house today, and I'm super excited. Like I've been saying, it's no cliche. I'm super excited to have you guys, speak to us in today's webinar. And I know, moving on, nobody's going to make all of those mistakes that was addressed, right? Say my vibe is 100%. Thank you. Thank you so much for that feedback. Thank you. I did learn a lot. I mean, thank you so much for giving us those doses of information that we would continue to use from this time henceforth. And, we would see productivity as our results, as the things that, our life is going to birth from this time and forth. I don't even want to be the only one talking. You guys tell me, what is your key takeaway? What did you learn? Yes, she dished out, Oribim did dish out great value. She did what I call setting the foundation. Now the Bible says that when the foundation is solid, I don't know if it's the Bible that says this one, but you guys understand. Right? When the foundation is solid, it's to carry a strong house. That thing they say about building your house on solid rock. So Oribim did justice to the topic. I'm super, super excited, and it's no cliche. So tell me, what's your key takeaway? What's that one thing that you are going to do moving on? What's that one thing that you're taking away and you're implementing right from this night? What's that thing you're doing? My own is that when I eventually, because I don't really like swallow that much again these days, you understand? But when I also do swallow, it used to be more than my fist size. People think that success, but you're a very small-bodied person. How come you do more than your fist size? Because my fist is small. But then I'll start being obedient to the things I've learned. So you guys tell me, what's your key takeaway? Okay, so Abimbola says that key takeaway is that she would make eating decision before you get hungry. I'm telling you, that's really, really very true. Plan your diet before you get hungry so that you can be mindful, the things you eat. Make food your medicine. Yes, that's one of my favorite quotes as a biochemistry student. Yes, replace all junks to an healthy intake. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful key takeaways. You guys are teaching me, because at some point I wasn't even hearing Dr. Perfecta. So you guys should tell me what you learned so that I can also infuse that into my own knowledge bank. You plan your meal before you become hungry. It looks like all of you don't used to plan your meal before you become hungry. I've seen all of you secret. Anyways, you guys should go ahead and drop your questions in the comment box, because this is the question and answer section. I know you guys really enjoy this webinar so much that you don't even want to leave, right? But then we need to take questions so that we can release our speakers. Yes, replace your junks with healthy intake. Sometimes I do, if I want to make pancake, which I still did today, I don't know if it's 100% healthy, but what I do is I infuse things that I know are healthier. For example, all oats is full of fiber, and it's a little more healthier than, of course, processed flour and all of that. So sometimes I would infuse, okay, can we call cereals processed food? Okay, so sometimes, let me just quickly round up with this. Sometimes I infuse oats, I infuse banana, I infuse apple into my pancake. So you will never taste my pancake and it will look like the normal flour, sugar, egg, and salt. There would always be something. So today I didn't have bananas, I didn't have apple, which is usually unusual, but then I add oats. So I had to add some oats to my pancake, you understand? So you want to learn how to infuse. I don't make noodles without adding carrots and green peas. Oribim spoke about adding fruits and vegetables into your food. So one of the things you want to do is to infuse fruit and vegetables into every kind of meal that you take. So please, Dr. Perfecta and Oribim, this is the time to take questions. So please.
I'm going to be asking the questions. So this question, Oribim, please, are you still here? Can you answer this question? Can we call cereals processed food?
Okay, well, thank you so much for that question, Kolawale. I think that is a great question. Now, for me, I call cereal processed food. Even whole grain cereal, I consider it to be processed food. And the reason why is it doesn't last. It has gone through, even though it's still a whole grain, so say if it's bran, but cornflakes and Cheerios and those ones are just super processed. There's no argument on that. But even the more whole grain cereals, they don't last. If you eat cornflakes in 2 hours, you're going to be hungry. And we already talked about how you want those foods that will actually last you and give you your energy in smaller doses that will increase your productivity. So yes, cereal is processed food. Do I think you should cut out all cereal? No. What I tend to recommend is to think more of additive. And I think Success kind of already talked about that a little bit, is what can I add to this food to make it healthier? So we know that cereal is a processed food, it's not going to last. So what can I add to my cereal? Because maybe time is a factor, right? You might not have time to start cooking, and cereal might be the only thing you have. So you can add things to your cereal that will make it last longer. Like if I have cereal, I add some kind of nuts, be it, peanuts or cashews or almonds. Those nuts are going to add some fats. They're going to add some protein that's going to make it last longer. I like to add fruit as well. Again, you want some of those healthy sugars. So I don't really add sugar to my cereal. I sweeten it with fruit. So that's a way where you can take something that's processed. It's quick, it's easy, but make it healthier for you as well.
Thank you so much, Oribim. Thank you for mentioning nuts. Yes, thank you so much. That was really very helpful. Okay, so Dr. Perfecta, I'd like to direct this question to you. Oribim, please stay with us because you still have some questions to answer. So Perfecta, can you tell us, for someone going through depression, what are the foods you would suggest to improve their mental health? Please, could you kindly answer this question? And then there's a second question for you as well. So based on this webinar, what would you say? Would you ask that junks be totally taken out of the diet list, out of the things we consume? For example, birthday cakes and wedding cakes and cakes generally, because these are part of refined foods. Are you asking us to, stop eating it totally? And how can one reduce stress eating? I wouldn't know exactly what that meant, but I'll have you talk.
Right. I would say generally, whether you're considering, when you're considering eating in general, there's a need to come off refined foods like Oribim also stated. So, and she made mention of consuming foods that are dark green leafy vegetables and all of that. So if a person is dealing with depression and all of that, you also want to know like what part, more than a therapy session, of what exactly is going on, because I mean you would have to go for therapy and like what's going on and how is that going on so that you can get solutions. But on your part, what you eat, refined foods on its own, it's like what Oribim just said. You take conflicts and you take all these foods and immediately they just get digested. They increase your spike, you get more energetic, and then the same way, before you know it, a couple of hours again, you're hungry or you want to eat something else. So consuming refined foods and all of that is not a good choice. So if somebody is dealing with depression or just want to generally optimize their health, I would say go for foods that are rich in omega-3s. That's basically like fish, nuts, the flaxseed, the dark green leafy vegetables like vitamin D, and basically all of this other healthy eating. You want to increase your intake of fruits and vegetables so that you're consuming foods that are anti-inflammatory as opposed to inflammatory foods that can cause all of that. And then I think you asked another question. I don't know.
Okay, that you didn't get, right? You want me to repeat the question?
Yes.
Okay, the question is, should junks be totally taken out of, the diet list, like snacks, like refined foods, like cakes, like, what have you, all of those things, should they be taken out completely as regards to all that we're doing so far?
Right, the answer still lies in everything that I have said previously and what Oribim has been saying. So, I mean, they're healthy snacks, right? They're healthy snacks. People can, even if you want to snack on nuts, like they're almond nuts, they are healthy snacks. They're things that people can snack on. I think the idea is that people always want to snack on something, and it's not bad. But you can go up to so the snacking is not the thing that is bad in itself. It's the fact that you want to, what you snack on. So when you don't snack on, you're snacking on donuts, you're snacking on meat pies and all of that. Maybe that's not what's best for you. But you can, why don't you take fruits? Why don't you take why don't you take a salad? Why don't you take a smoothie? Why don't you take nuts? There are other things that you can snack on as opposed to that, right?
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. There are other questions there. I wouldn't know if Perfecta will be able to still take them, but this question will be directed to Oribim. Please, ma'am, can you answer this question? So, the question is, what kind of food should someone that consistently have severe menstrual cramps avoid? And then a second question here would be that, do you mean that alcohol reduces depression or adds to it. When you said it is a depressant drug, what exactly do you mean by that statement? Thank you.
Well, thank you. Well, I'll answer the second question first. When I said alcohol is a depressant drug, that just means that it slows and it depresses basic function. So things like speech, things like reaction, etc. So it has that impact. And if you think about it, alcohol doesn't necessarily make you happier either, right? It might mask whatever it is that you're going through, but after a while, you're still going to come back to face the reality of your life. So alcohol doesn't do justice in that way. And in addition to the other things that I talked about. Now, in regards to the mental cycle question, now that's a much more, it's hard to answer that generally because the question there is why? Why are you experiencing that menstrual pain? Is it something that's going on medically? Could it be PCOS? Could it be endometriosis? Like there's deeper things. Like it's a hard question to answer, but I would always just pivot to this. If you eat a balanced diet, if you're eating, like Perfecta said, she made a very good point, eating what is specific to you, then chances are you're taking care of even your menstrual needs or your needs during your period. So there isn't really one answer. It's going to be specific to what's happening in that condition and what's causing the pain.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm seeing other questions. Yeah. Is acid reflux curable? How can it be managed through diet? And then is yogurt healthy? I'm seeing some amazing question. I'm saying that it's taking proteinous food. Okay, which should you take? Should you take eggs? Should you take beans? And I'm just going to answer that right away. One of the things already been emphasized on is that balance and variety is key. So we're not supposed to box ourselves to just one class of food or just one particular food, because one of the beauty of food and the beauty of nature generally is the fact that when you have different things that gives you different nutrients, in different amounts, it kind of gives your body the ability to, it makes you live healthier because you're not just taking one kind of food and you don't get tired of it. Because even if a food is very healthy and you eat it too much, there's always one little downside somewhere, somehow. And then also you can get tired of it. And because of that, you won't be able to eat it again. So what are the kind of exercise we can do on a very busy and short day? Oribim, please, can you answer to that question? What are the kind of exercise that we can do on a busy day? And secondly, how can you reduce stress eating? And thirdly, what meals can cure GERD or persistent acid reflux? Thank you.
Let me start with the third one because that's the one I remember. What can cure GERD or what can cure reflux? I wouldn't say necessarily cure. I would say manage. There are some things that make your reflux worse. So for example, high fats can make your reflux worse because again, fat keeps that food in your belly, right? So it's much more likely to come up. Things that are fizzy can make your reflux worse. Spicy foods, citrus foods, things like orange and lemon can make your reflux worse. So what you want to do is maybe pay attention to what foods you eat that make that reflux worse. And then maybe even tomatoes sometimes can actually worsen GERD. And then something else that you could do is to eat, instead of having 3 big meals, maybe have 3 small meals. Again, you want to not extend because what's happening is your stomach is so extended, the sphincter that closes your stomach isn't working, so the food is backing up. So if you eat smaller portions, then there's less of a chance that that food is going to back up. And the third thing I would say is try to be erect after eating, at least for 30 minutes to an hour, so that that food can actually digest. Then you had a question, what was the other one? Something about,
how do you reduce stress eating?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, stress eating, I feel the first step is just eating regularly. If you're well fed, if you're well nourished, you're going to be less likely to stress eat. I think most of the food problems that we have comes from the fact that we don't eat, be it stress eating, emotional eating. It stems from the fact that we don't eat regularly enough. So when we're hungry, like I said, you're out of control. You have less self-control. You have less willpower. So chances are you're going to start to go overboard. So first step is, of course, eat regularly, but also other coping skills. What are other things that you can do to cope with that stress? For some people, it's taking a walk. For some people, it's actually going to work out or doing some kind of exercise. It releases that endorphins that makes you feel good. For some people, it's sleeping. For some people, I know some people love to knit. It helps them deal with stress and anxiety. So it's putting more tools in your toolbox so you don't just naturally gravitate towards food as the only source to cope with those feelings.
Thank you so much. So I guess this will be the last question. Please, my wonderful participants, if I have not attended to any of your questions and it has not been attended to in all of these answers so far, could you please put it in the chat box because we're rounding up now. So Oribim, thank you so much for staying with us till this time. I would like to ask, what's your thought on intermittent fasting? And still on the same side of the question, what's your thought about people who do not take breakfast in a bid to reduce their weight? And also, what healthy drink or healthy meal would you suggest for weight loss?
So intermittent fasting is what we call a therapeutic diet. So by therapeutic diet, it is like therapy. It's almost like using food as medicine, right? So there's a purpose. It's there to cure something. Intermittent fasting, I'm kind of on the fence with it. I think personally, I would not encourage somebody to go on it. And the reason why is I think of sustainability. Remember how I talked about the diet, and I think Perfecta also talked about it, how diet is more of what you eat on a day-to-day basis. That's how we want to view diet, right? Just your regular eating habits or your way of life, like she said. So that is, so when I think diet, I think sustainability, and it's very possible for you to lose weight having regular meals. We've talked about some of the pitfalls of not eating regularly, right? Your lack of willpower, lack of self-control, chances to snack more on, those junk foods or highly processed, highly
You're
refined
really
foods.
hungry. Yeah.
Exactly. So while intermittent fasting, I think research shows that it can work. I work with some people that are on intermittent fasting. Some people have had success and some have not had success. So again, it boils down to the individual. If you think this is something that you can do and you can start intermittent fasting and you would do it for 15 years and you won't have any issues with that, then possibly. You would just have to pay attention to things like nutrition deficiencies because you only have a short window, you're eating less, you're probably not eating as much variety as if you were having to eat 3 meals. Skipping breakfast to reduce weight, again, when we skip meals, what happens is our body actually wants to grab onto fat a bit more. And the way I like to explain this is, imagine if you're underwater and you're holding your breath. When you come up for air, you're not breathing at a regular pace. You're gasping. Your body's trying to catch up on that air that you have missed out on. And that's what our body does with food too as well.
It's
when
so
you
much, yeah.
your intake, when you skip a meal, when you see food, your body starts to gas. There's a lack of control. There's a loss of control, and you tend to eat more. But also, your body also tends to keep the fat more because it doesn't trust you to feed it regularly. And fat is energy store. So it's storing the energy for the rainy day. So it's really counterproductive. That's why if you find that you've been on a diet, you've probably seen that you've kind of gained the weight back, right? Because your body starts to grab onto that fat and, your body makes you a lot more hungry. So it's harder to sustain. What I would say is a better way to lose weight. We do know that eating whole foods, eating lots of vegetables, it does help. It's going to be slower. So you won't lose 15 pounds in 3 months. It'll be slower, but it'll be weight that actually stays off. Coupled with physical activity, especially things that help you build muscles, they really help, again, you on that. They also help you on that weight loss journey. So factoring in health and physical activity, food, but also sleep. We don't even talk about sleep enough, but having enough sleep is one of those things that really impact your health. It even impacts your weight, right? Because when you sleep, that's when your body has the time to repair itself, So when it comes to weight loss, it's a big, broad topic that I don't think we have the time to talk about here today.
To delve into it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Really, I don't think it is productive. I think it's totally counterproductive to skip breakfast in the name of trying to lose weight. And I even think it's also counterproductive to, so much reduce the quantity of meal you're taking in the name of trying to lose weight, because on the long run, what happens is that you get yourself into stress eating, you get yourself into panic eating because your brain is, devoid of glucose. It cannot work, energy cannot be transported. You can't do so much because there isn't enough glucose in your body. And then before you know it, you just want to eat anything that comes your way. And in that way, you run into unhealthy eating. So I totally agree with you. Thank you so much for being a part of this webinar. Thank you super, super, super. Okay, so I wouldn't know if there are any other thing that you would have to say to us as a closeout for today's webinar. Maybe just one thing you want us to take away, one key message you want every one of us to hold on to even as we leave. I know we learned a lot, but I'll still like to hear from you in just 30 seconds. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you all for being here, for sticking with us for so long. My final comments would be to remember to be kind to yourself, right? Mm-hmm. We're not expecting perfection. Everything in moderation. I think moderation is key. All things can fit into a healthy diet if it's done in moderation. So that would be what I want you to, we're not saying don't eat, this or that.
Like someone said, cereal in the mud. Me, I'm a cereal person, because sometimes I'm a super busy person and I just need a go-to meal so that there is, I'm not in that state where there is nothing in my stomach. But what I do is, like now, I have a goal I have set, and I've made it easier for myself by looking at it. Okay, on a normal day, if I were to be someone who takes carbonated drink, I would spend nothing less than maybe 400 naira in a week to buy 2 bottles of Coca-Cola or something. So what can I do? If I can actually bring out that 400 naira, I can buy 200 naira worth of banana, 100 naira worth of agbalumo, sweet, African cherry, and then I can use the other 100 naira to buy 3 or 2 oranges. And sometimes what I do is I just try to make them into smoothie if I don't want to take them directly, just because I want to find. And another thing I think I'd like you guys to take away from this is that find ways to make eating fun. If you want to eat healthy, you have to make it fun, because sometimes this natural food may not come as fun to you. In fact, when I don't know if we have people who have children on this call, but just in case there is someone who has a child, you want children to eat healthily, you have to make it fun to them. You have to make it fun to them. So you don't always have to eat your food the same way you always eat them. Sometimes you want to just infuse things that are unusual. You don't have to do it the normal way. You don't have to do it the way everybody does it. You understand? So you want to take oranges, you don't have to take it directly. You can squeeze out the juice and, sit down in your room and feel like the king or the queen that you are, with that glass of your orange juice after it has been, refrigerated and it's cold, and enjoy it. Sometimes you want to make it into smoothie. You want to do banana and apple. Sometimes you eat it all like that. So just be creative with your food. And I think that way you would also be able to eat more healthily. Thank you so much. Over to Samuel now as he gives us the last word for this webinar. Thank you everyone for having me. My name is Success Adora. I love you all.
Wow, thank you everyone for staying till now. Wow, I've learned a lot today. Thank you very much, Oribim. Thank you for coming. Thank you for teaching us on how to improve our physical health using diet. Dr. Perfecta to leave earlier because she had a class by 5:30 Nigerian time. So today has been an amazing one for me, and I believe every one of us here, we've learned a lot too. So I want to say a big thank you to our moderator, Success. I learned a lot from you too. So yeah, I wrote in the chat earlier that it's challenging to plan meals because of time. Every day we are just busy with stuff, but the fact is, if we don't have good health, there's no way we can achieve anything in this world. And what we eat determines, how we perform. So I believe everything we've learned today is not just about learning them, it's actually about putting them to use. So I would advise every one of us to look into, all the knowledge and apply them as we go into our lives this year. And I believe you are going to be productive both in our physical and mental health as we do this. So thank you very much, Oribim. Thank you very much, Dr. Perfecta in absence, for for today. We've learned quite a lot, and we are very grateful for having you on board. And for everyone that waited till now, we say thank you. And also want to appreciate the Food and Genes Initiative team. They've been the one, working on the publicity, reaching out to everyone. Thank you very much. All our volunteers, we say very big thank you for making this program a success.